What up, people? You have just joined the Abomination. Got another video for y'all talking about mainstream media, specifically Disney, and talking about this project where they've clearly shown that they're going to push their agenda in. And there's this interview, I'm assuming, with the creators of this project. Well, you know what? I don't even know too much about it. I'm gonna let them describe it in this interview, and then I'll just, give my commentary, chime in. One of my lights went out on me, so, the lighting might be different, but we'll figure it out. I'm gonna go ahead and record me actually like reading the description of this video. But yeah, the title of this is Lightyear, why Chris Evans is voicing Buzz Lightyear and not Tim Allen. From what I've heard from not exactly credible sources, Tim Allen is real right-wing or right-leaning or whatever, conservative. And that's not what Disney is about at the time. So they're not trying to involve him in any projects that they got going on, or definitely in any major projects. And I got interested in this video because I was just wondering, okay, this is something new. Again, we know where Disney is at with all of this. I just wonder if anything, as far as these reboots and adaptations that they're making, am I going to hear anything familiar in it when they're describing it? And as I did kind of started watching it, or I watched the beginning and I heard it and I was like, we got a video, I need to talk about this. But here we go. These interviews were conducted by IGN writer Tara D. Bennett. Yes, so this video is coming from IGN.
I have a couple questions, a little bit about the early creative, because obviously that's a huge part of the Pixar process and the creative teams. So going back to when you were thinking about who voices this, was there ever a time where you guys thought maybe we get Tim, but we get him to do it in a different vocal performance? Or was that kind of like not on the table?
There was so much initial confusion about our pitch that it became really clear that we needed to have some clear delineators, right? We needed a different voice. Our Buzz had to have hair. I mean, we needed some things that made it clear that this is not the Toy Story Buzz. So yeah, we really didn't go down that path.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. That's what she said. All right, so that's what I heard and made me want to do this video, because she was like, okay, our pitch was so weird, or I guess they didn't interpret it well, whoever they pitched it to. That they had to make clear lines to make sure there was a clear distinction from the original. So what she basically saying is, we didn't want any of the restraints of the original shit. So this is just something different. And man, that's how you know you're about to get laziness, because without those restrictions, they're free to do whatever they want with this character. And because we know this character already, they tugging on the heartstrings and feel like you're going to go see this movie. But if you were critical of them, Buzz Lightyear, if this is the story based off of the actual astronaut, Buzz Lightyear, the toy, thought he was the actual astronaut. He would exactly be this character. Or this character would exactly be that toy, just seeing the human version and seeing him actually go on these missions and fucking fight Zurg. But it's like, why you want to deviate from the original so much when he was perfect? Hell, they even gave us the fucking, show that was already what they're trying to do. The actual real Space Ranger Buzz Lightyear, that was on a Disney series back in the 90s or the early 2000s. And he's Space Commander, but he had them other Rangers around him, or on his team. So it would have been cool to see those characters. You get what I'm saying? We could have seen those characters explored, because the cartoon was fucking cool. It was about what you would expect from him going through space, fighting monsters, and helping planets and shit. But anyway, talking a lot.
When you were, Angus, you were talking about how this all comes off, is that you were imagining that this was a spin-off cartoon of this film, and that the Toy Story was the making of that spin-off. In the early kind of iteration and thought paths that you could have taken, was there any thought about acknowledging the actor who's playing Lightyear, which is technically Chris, even like?
She said that they was going into it with the mind of this was a spin-off cartoon. Again, we already had that. I just kind of talked about that. You could have pulled from that. Like, what is so hard about watching the movies, seeing who Buzz Lightyear was, watching this cartoon that was made by Disney? It's y'all shit Disney already. Why don't you fucking pull from it or reference it, you know, and build a slightly more mature story off of that, the lore that already pre-exists.
Like in the credits, or just as like a kind of an internal Russian nesting doll of the kind of the funny thought of acknowledging
that little shot back. I'm gonna go back. That shot right there, where you see his eyes.
Russian nesting doll of
right here. He looking all sad and shit. That's what he looked like on the thumbnail. Boy, they feminizing these men like crazy. Instead of a strong fucking built space warrior ranger character, this nigga look like a big old baby in a in a onesie. He like a masculine Teletubby. God damn, Buzz Lightyear. He look like teenage Mr. Incredible. He like Mr. Incredible got his powers in space from a rock, like some Fantastic Four type shit. God damn.
The funny thought of acknowledging that?
No, it's interesting. I didn't, because I wanted to just use that as a step, like a setup, and then kind of get away from it. But because I don't think there's ultimately a lot of value in reminding the audience that it's a movie. In the sense that I think what's going to end up happening is, you know, when it comes out and hopefully it finds an audience, like it'll just sort of become its own thing, and people won't. There's already enough confusion going around it. I didn't want to get too cute.
No, that makes sense.
So he just letting y'all know that no, this is different. This ain't got shit to do with the Buzz Lightyear that you know. We took his name though and the fucking design of the suit. Although that we looking at some random new black chick right here, but that's all we took from Buzz Lightyear. Just the name, he was a space ranger. Everything else, forget that shit. It has nothing to do with this movie. That's what he's saying. He's like, fuck Tim Allen's voice, all right? This is Chris Evans's Buzz Lightyear. And he didn't want people hearing Tim Allen's voice and thinking or relating that, or relating this movie to the previous movies. It's like, if you want to distance yourself so much from the original, why are you even using the original? This type of shit was why I used to think I was crazy, because people just love it. They just love it, and I'm like, what? How? Are we saying the same shit?
So, you know, obviously Toy Story is a benchmark franchise for Pixar now, and it actually it's been around for so long that nostalgia actually exists for the stories and how it's evolved through its iterations. And so I'm sure there's a lot of lessons that you guys have taught.
Well, at least, you know, she act like she knows. She just the one asking questions though.
Talked about or thought about with this whole resurgence of nostalgia, and when to follow that path, and when to make movies that acknowledge that, and then even the lessons that you guys have learned that you might be inherent to the theme that you talked about with this film. Ultimately, have there been any distillations of nostalgia that, you know, come out in this movie, and the thoughts that you've learned about it in choosing your projects and seeing how people react to your projects over time?
It's really interesting.
Bruh face look like, oh, I never thought about that. Bro look confused as hell. He look like he didn't give a fuck about no nostalgia. He thinking, well, sucks for them if that's what they want out of this. This journalist, man, she trying to pull it from him. She like, hey, she trying to go along with it. And speak nothing but positive, but she's just like, y'all ramming this shit into a wall.
In choosing your projects and seeing how people react to your projects over time?
It's really interesting.
We haven't had a lot of time to reflect because we're still making the movie.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I do know that there have been moments where this movie has made me go, oh, wow, like I shut that door when I made that decision. How do I feel about that? Is that something that I let fester, or is that something that I've moved past? Do I, and associating it with the different chapters of my life. And definitely, I mean, COVID also increased that because all of that isolation means we were in our heads a lot more than I think we would normally be. So certainly I did reflect on both personal and professional decisions that I had made in the past more through working on this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back because I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know what the fuck she just said. And bruh just like, oh, and then she just talked, and then he just said, yeah. Hold on, let me see. Let me.
Distillations of nostalgia that, come out in this movie and the thoughts that you've learned about it in choosing your projects and seeing how people react to your projects over time?
It's really interesting.
We haven't had a lot of time to reflect because we're still making the movie.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I do know that there have been moments where this movie has made me go, oh, wow, like I shut that door when I made that decision. How do I feel about that? Is that something that I let fester, or is that something that I've moved past? Do I, and associating it with the different chapters of my life. And definitely, I mean, COVID also increased that because all of that isolation means we were in our heads a lot more than I think we would normally be. So certainly I did reflect on both personal and professional decisions that I had made in the past more through working on this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, man. I don't know what the hell she just said. I think the journalist was asking her, I thought she said, do you take in, she was on the nostalgia thing, asking does that take into effect when you choose projects or like the work, or the things that you choose to do to put into a movie? Do you reflect on how people will like perceive them? That's what I think she was asking. And dude didn't know what the fuck to say or how to respond, and I feel him. But the lady was just like, she made decisions in the movie. She said she really had to think about her previous self or previous actions and like kind of dwell on them, and it forced her to make decisions to where she was like, well, I made it, am I going? And I'm just like what was she thinking about? What did you have to think so hard about in this skeleton of a movie? Like, was she thinking of like, I don't know, did she hurt any lesbians in the past, or like people of color in making decisions? Like, did she just was that just like an admission of guilt or reluctance to make this project? I don't want to make this more than what it is, okay? But I'm just as weirded out about that whole little back and forth as y'all are about my interpretation of it. But I'm just gonna go past it, so try to get this over with.
You were talking also, Andy, your thoughts were that Andy is, kind of watched this in the early 80s on VHS. So in the overall kind of world build.
How Andy, I don't know what she's gonna say, but how Andy watch this if it ain't got nothing to do with the damn Buzz Lightyear or this character or who this person is that this toy think he is?
Of this movie and your own thoughts, did you think that Lightyear is a standalone, or is it a series a la Star Wars when you think about the existence of this movie?
Well, I thought of this movie. What I knew is that this movie would ultimately not cover the events on the back of the package of a Buzz, because I felt like that was too deep into the story without any sort of like world building of the character. So I think naturally, whatever happened, the events of the back of the package don't happen in this film. But the original Star Wars was really good about being a self-contained idea within a larger story. That's kind of always the way I thought about this movie. It's a self-contained idea within a larger story.
So you had mentioned.
He said. So she was asking, do you see this being like a sequel, like a Star Wars thing, where it's like more than one movie, to really fill out this world or this story of Buzz Lightyear? You know, akin to like how Star Wars is, and he was like, he thought of it that way, but this is not the story of the events on the back of the package that Buzz Lightyear came in, so the whole Zurg thing. So he was like, basically, this movie ain't got shit to do with that, and we definitely ain't finna talk about it in this movie. But he thought of it like in a bigger universe like Star Wars. So saying it, admitting that it had the potential to be fucking great, and we could really be on a space story with this character, and seeing him go through fucking space, something like Star Wars, not exactly, but you know what I mean, like that whole journey, which is, I think it's kind of based off Star Wars, but you know, we could see them play around with that. But he was like, you just see the lack of enthusiasm. Like, they know they're not proud of this project, and that's why I feel like they just feel like guilty or dirty in this interview or on their faces. Like, look at them. It's just because they know if they have anything creative about them, any creative bone in their body, they couldn't do it. And I feel like they had to use this movie to push these agendas, and they may or may not agree with them.
That Aliens is one of your favorite films, and that there's a little bit of it baked in, whether it's visually or thematically. You didn't go overboard, obviously, because you don't want to take us out of the movie, but is there an alien Easter egg that you were most proud of being able to kind of fit into the movie that you want us to be looking for?
There are several, but I don't think I'm ready to discuss them quite yet.
Okay, good.
It's some pretty obvious ones for people of a certain ability to aliens.
Well, I'll be looking for them. So
He probably meant strong female. That's what he probably meant. And I haven't seen Aliens, but I know that one lady was in the fucking yellow suit, the yellow construction worker look suit. I don't know, but that's all he talking about. So she was like, bro, you know, it probably ain't too much alien fights because you didn't want to take us out of the movie. That's who Buzz Lightyear is. Oh, I mean, shit, when he came alive in Andy's room and he saw all them other toys, he instantly was on guard, like pointing that laser. Like, you know what I'm saying? What do I need to do? Are y'all cool or are y'all not? Then he buzzed into Space Command and was like, okay, we got some inhabitants here. He had to let them know, hey, Space Rangers, if you come to this planet, you need to be shooting to kill, or you know what I'm saying, you can come, or you come in peace. Think of him as fucking Anakin Skywalker. He goes to different planets trying to spread peace and help people along the way and spread, like, you know, space command reach, you know, like the space police. So that's what he do, you know, he got to fight aliens along the way. Sentient and not, you know, like, how are you taking us out of the movie unless this is some fucking romantic story and it's gonna be fucking boring as them just exploring a planet with little to no life on it. Man, what do I know? I've only been a watcher of Toy Story since it came out.
Galen, I just want to ask, you know, when you bring Kiki and Taika into it, obviously they've been part of the greater Disney ecosystem for a while. You've got two really great comedic actors and performers. the Pixar movies are really well known for that. Was a process of going through auditions or thinking about them, or did they come first up in first and foremost when you were thinking of casting the two characters?
Well, I think for the Izzy role, the one Kiki, we weren't as familiar with all of our options. I think we did a lot more listening because there's just so much more that's come out between, streaming and, I mean, there's just so much more media. There's a lot of options out there. So we did a lot more listening. But then once we had a session with Kiki, that was, she's got so much energy. She's so, she's just a powerhouse, and she does this really great, call you on your stuff, and then very sort of self-effacing thing next to it, like that juxtaposition. She can go back and forth really fluidly. It's really quite lovely, quite remarkable.
With Taika, was it tough to get in?
Yes.
She said she called you on your stuff.
Go back and forth really fluidly. It's really quite lovely, quite remarkable. She can go back and forth really fluidly. It's really quite lovely, quite remarkable.
With Taika, was it tough to get in?
Yes, I did. I admit to doing some begging. I begged.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
Well,
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you later. Take care.
And the man just don't speak. They done told him he been doing too much mansplaining on here. And he don't want to step on any toes, and that's what she did too many times with this Kiki girl, I guess, who playing the black girl in or some black character in this Lightyear movie. Let's not call him Buzz. But all right, that's all for this video, people. Go ahead and leave me a like or a dislike. Be true to yourself. Let me know how you really feel, and if those buttons are not enough, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Do you agree with anything I've said? Do you see that this is garbage and no longer care about these adaptations and reboots because the people who making them don't? Or do you disagree with me? I'm phobes because I don't look forward to this and don't support Disney's agenda. And if you find any value in my opinion whatsoever and you want to hear more of my thoughts, go ahead and subscribe to the channel.
So I'm not sure I get you.
Give me a real fight!
You all right, boy?
Any of you guys read that chapter in The Art of War about misdirection?